Hi fans, please like our video and subscribe to the RotoWire channel. Then please go to rotowire.com/pod for a free 10-day trial.
Welcome to the award-winning RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, sponsored by BetMGM. It's Friday, December 18th, 2020. Alex Barutha here. And on the line, we have Shannon McKeown and Ken K-Train Kreitz.
All aboard!
This podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, rotowire.com, and also now YouTube. We would appreciate nice reviews on those platforms. Today's show, we're going to be talking about underrated players for this upcoming season. But first, the news. Some big performances yesterday. In the preseason, we had Christian Wood with 27 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, no turnovers, 1 steal and 1 block in 24 minutes. Shannon, are you worried about the position battle between him and DeMarcus Cousins at all?
I am a little bit, because Cousins has looked pretty good. He looks healthy. And with Wood, it's an odd fit having both those guys play together, more so on the defensive end. You know, I think on offense, they both can stretch the floor good enough. But I do worry about that fit on the defensive side. So it does temper my expectations for both of the players a little bit. But it was nice to see Wood come out and have that type of performance after sitting out the previous couple preseason games.
Shannon, I would think contract-wise, more of the concern is Cousins, right? I mean, they're invested in Wood for 3 years. What was it, $50 million, $41 million? It's Cousins on the 1-year deal that I'd think if they need to sit one, it'd be him, though, right?
Sure, of course. That logic is very logical, Ken.
We're on a hot start. All right. Hey, Steph Curry, big game. 29 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, only 1 turnover. Nice to see, plus 2 steals in 29 minutes. Alex, how high are you willing to draft Curry?
It's tough. I mean, I'm still worried about kind of his age, injury history, especially the amount of miles he has on him in the postseason, him and guys like Draymond. Obviously, we've seen what's happened to Clay. I don't think I would draft him number 1, but I can see people drafting him over Giannis. I can see people drafting him, I mean, as high as 2 or 3. I'm not sure I would go that high because I still like Anthony Davis in that range. I still like James Harden at number 1 for the most part. Towns is still good, but I can't blame anybody for drafting Curry at 3 or something.
1, 2, or 3 to me is still quite a bit of a reach, mainly due to age, how well that team's going to perform, things along those lines. I mean, he's already jumped up, right? He was more in the 10 to 12 range before preseason and draft season really started, and he's up there to 6, 7, 8 now. And I think that's the range I would be comfortable picking him in. I do, there's good chance, especially in point-based leagues, it's a little bit different, but in rotisserie 8-category leagues, there's a very good chance he could be the number 1 ranked player this year. Due to his strong percentages, the insane amount of 3-pointers that he hits every year, he might have to shoulder a little bit bigger of a scoring load than he has in the past. Thompson's out. Draymond Green's not as, Draymond Green has declined some since his prime. So we could see one of the best seasons of Curry's career.
I just think it's all about the game count, right? Like,
absolutely.
How much is he going to play? There's some injury risk with Davis, though he had a healthy season last year. Harden's, criticize Harden all you want, and he is looking a little chubby, but he plays games. He's a gamer. Even when hurt, he plays hurt. Towns quality game count. Damian Lillard quality game count. I mean, Curry's more 5, 6, 7 range for me. I just don't expect more than 80% of the season out of him.
I'm with you, Ken. Exactly the same thing. I can't envision picking him before like 8 or 9.
Ooh. All right, Alex, take us. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, like you said, Shannon, his ADP is so low, you don't have to draft him at number 2.
Right.
Probably. Depends where your draft position is, how you feel. But John Morant has been looking incredible this preseason. Last night, 18 points, 13 assists, only 3 turnovers. Per 36 minutes in 3 preseason games, he's averaging 25 points, 14 assists with only 1.8 turnovers, which is absolutely insane. 6.8 rebounds, 1.8 steals. ADP on Yahoo right now is 27. Ken, do you think that's too high or too low?
Well, I'm trying to find him on the RotoWire projection rankings.
We have him low. We have him lower than that. I think we have him somewhere between 40 and 60.
Yeah. So, I tend to go with the site when in doubt. I mean, he's option number 1, especially with Jackson out. So that's great. Certainly TOs are an issue. He's going to be a high TO guy. If that's something your league tracks or not. But, we love sophomores. Rookies are always overrated. Sophomores are always underrated. There's obviously a lot of room for improvement in this young player's game.
It's tough. I think he's ranked appropriately. In most sites have him ranked somewhere in like the basically the late 30s to mid 40s is usually the range you'll find him in. But he's getting drafted top 30 on average, that 25 to 30 range. It's tough for me. That's a little bit higher than I would like to pick him. Similar ADPs are Donovan Mitchell. Jamal Murray goes a little bit later than that. I like Morant a lot, and I expect him to improve upon his numbers from last year. The biggest concern for me is really like the defensive stats. I know the points and the assists are going to be there. He's going to rebound well for a point guard. Are the steals going to be there? He averaged just a hair under 1 steal per game last year. I expect that will improve. And then 3-pointers. Does he have that stroke yet? 0.9 3-pointers per game. If I'm picking a point guard especially with a top 30 pick, they better be hitting like 1.5 3-pointers per game.
We've got him in our projections just behind Malcolm Brogdon. So who would you two fellas like to have?
I would pick Morant all day long.
Yeah, upside
all day long.
Yeah, the upside is better there.
Free throw shooting, a little concern with Ja. I'd say outside of fantasy, I always want my point guard to shoot well from the line because he's supposed to do the clutch time ball handling. It's probably something he'll grow into, but maybe still a concern.
I would argue 78% for a rookie. A 20-year-old rookie is actually damn good. He'll get there.
Yes, damn good in reality. A little concerning for your fantasy squad this year, though.
He'll be fine.
Ken, tell us about Gorgon Hayward.
Oft-injured Gordon Hayward, dealing with a broken finger. Status for regular season opener unclear. It's on his shooting hand. It's on his right hand. They're calling it day-to-day. I don't get that. How do you shoot with a broken finger on your hand? Seems there's a decent chance he's going to be ready to go, though. This worries me. This worries me a lot because it's his shooting hand. I don't think the finger's related to his ankle and the other injury issues he's had. I'm sure the accountant for the Hornets is already overly concerned. But hey, ADP of 51 still feels pretty safe to me. I've been getting him lower in a few my personal drafts. He's a huge injury risk when this finger does heal. But he's also scoring option number 1 when he plays. I don't know. Where do you guys see? What's your preferred draft range for Gordon?
I think I was going to say I think 50 to 60 is fine. I mean, once you start getting into the 60s and 70s anyway, a lot of times you're shooting for more upside. I'm not sure I would draft. I mean, I don't think I would draft him any higher than 51. I think
CBS has him ranked at 21, which just is insanity to me.
Yeah.
Sections. That's
ignore all CBS rankings. They're a mess.
What do you think?
A fine business-to-business partner of RotoWire, though.
Yes, absolutely wonderful. I was extremely high on Hayward. This doesn't impact me chasing after him too much. It's the 5th finger or the little finger or the pinky finger. And with that, I mean, anyone who's ever shot a basketball adequately knows that the pinky really doesn't impact that. So Ken, you do get, since you don't really know how to shoot, you get a pass on that. But I don't expect it, like the news reports suggest he's not going to be out long. It's not going to It's not going to impact him. So it
Have
doesn't
you
really
played
impact.
hoops with a broken pinky on your shooting hand?
I've played hoops with every single finger and toe broken at the same time without any issues.
Wow, while holding a smoke. That's impressive.
Yes. It's no, I have actually, Ken, and it doesn't impact your shooting that much. More so dribbling more than shooting, actually. But
That's also a key for the game.
yes, yeah. I just don't. I was high on Hayward. I would have picked him in that 50 to 60 range all day long. In some formats that are shallow with the wing position, you had to draft him earlier than that. I mean, I select him with I think I picked him with like the 35th, 36th pick, right in that range in a couple best ball leagues. But that's basically format dependent. Most standard leagues, 50 to 60 range, I'm still all over it. I actually think you're getting a good discount because of the finger injury.
Well, I mean, all injury risk guys kind of that have high upside go a tick up or two in best ball, right, Shannon?
Yeah, a little bit, but his cost in certain best ball formats is purely position dependent. Like it's all about the position eligibility in that one.
Hayward's one of those guys that gives you a little in every category, which kind of just gives you a lot of flexibility in filling out the rest of your roster. Alex, take us to the ongoing saga. That's the Houston Rockets.
I think it is officially a saga at this point with James Harden. New reporting. So kind of between Adrian Wojnarowski and Shams Charania, which are maybe, I don't know why both top NBA reporters have tough names. The 76ers have reportedly made Ben Simmons available, quote unquote, in some packages. The Rockets are expanding trade discussions also beyond Brooklyn and Philadelphia. So it seems like a lot of momentum is picking up. And kind of piggybacking.
I got to interrupt. I don't understand that one storyline about Rockets are expanding trade discussions. Of course the Rockets are. You know, if the Vancouver Grizzlies wanted to offer a huge package, you'd say, fine. I don't care if it works out at your end or not. Like, just because Harden's like, oh, I will graciously allow you to speak to these teams. Who cares? If you can move them, if some team's willing to take the risk of him pouting or not, of course the Rockets should talk to these other teams.
Yeah, I assume Brooklyn and Philadelphia are both lowballing Houston because every other team, if you're another team in the league and you're afraid that Harden is going to hate being there, you're not going to offer a lot. And so the Nets and 76ers know that. Regardless of all this, do you think Harden, maybe not regardless, do you think he should still be the number one pick in fantasy? Because I think like there is a concern he'll get traded and have a lesser role, right? But he could also end up being more efficient mostly from the field.
Or he does what I just said, meaning he gets dealt to a team he doesn't want to go to and then pouts and sulks. Sure. Or decides to show up a few days late after another Atlanta-Vegas visit.
It's also a possibility. What do you think, Shannon?
It's tough. I will say, all right. So last year, Harden was, far and away the number one ranked fantasy player. I believe. I believe it was a significant margin. And he played with Russell Westbrook, who is a top 20 fantasy player for this season. So it doesn't concern me too much.
Brooklyn wouldn't concern you?
Brooklyn does. It depends on the team. I believe Brooklyn's the most likely trade destination. I believe they have the best package. But that's because I don't believe Philly will include Ben Simmons in a package. So that means, to me, Brooklyn's package with LeVert is the best package to get. If LeVert goes to the Rockets, he's a top 30 fantasy player. He's going to be an all-star as a number one or number two option with the team. LeVert's amazing, and I think that the Rockets should take him if he's on the table. But with Harden's overall fantasy value, it'll take a ding, but he's still going to be top five. Top five. Right. Top five if it's, I would say top 10 with Brooklyn, top five with anyone else.
I personally think he's going to Philly. I think Morey is the kind of team president that has the cojones to make such a big deal and take on a risk of a possibly pouting Harden. And I do think he'll include Ben Simmons, which I think would make it a better package than what Brooklyn's offering. I think Simmons versus LeVert's a no-brainer. But you know what I can't get over, though, is how chubby he looks. I know you mentioned this last week, Shannon. He still shot the ball perfect in this preseason. I mean, the shot's amazing. The handle's amazing. But he looks chubby, which doesn't bode well for defense.
Chubby James Harden's my spirit animal.
Got to get that T-shirt. Got to get that T-shirt with a round-looking recent Harden on it.
We had a good performance from Lonzo Ball the other night, Ken.
Yeah, coming off the bench. I just found their minutes rotation interesting, though maybe with Gordon out, it doesn't matter. But they started Graham and Rozier.
Sorry, we meant Lamelo.
Oh, geez, sorry.
Yes. No, it's okay.
Ball issue there. Ball coming off the bench, 18 with 5 dimes and a steal in just 26 minutes. Graham and Rozier both started, which we sort of expected. They both saw 28 minutes. The 3 guards led them in scoring. It's kind of what we expected before they made, right, the Hayward signing. They went small a lot. P.J. Washington started. I saw some minutes at center. Anyway, I just thought it's interesting. I do think not just Charlotte, but any team with a rookie this year really ought to develop them by bringing them off the bench against lower competition for the first few weeks. Let them gradually earn their way into the starting rotation, which is, I think, what Charlotte will do with Lamelo.
Yeah, I like Lamelo off the bench. Him and Miles Bridges already have some really great highlights together. Bridges, one of the best dunkers in the league. Lamelo can help that second unit kind of function with a lot of guys who obviously aren't that good because they're backups on Charlotte. And we'll get to this a little later.
He's got Bridges playing with him on that second unit. It's not bad.
He does. Bridges is good. But they're not that deep of a team. They might run like an 8-9 man rotation a lot of nights. We'll kind of see about the Lamelo at small forward thing. I'm not sure if that's real. We'll get to this later. I'm not that worried about Devontae Graham or Terry Rozier.
Frankly, on defense, Lamelo being a point forward type, I'm not sure he's fast enough to guard first class speedy point guards in the NBA. He might be better off guarding a wing on D, playing a little small forward.
He's still really light. He'll get pushed around a lot playing that position early in his career until he adds maybe like 20 pounds or something like that, because he's just thin at this point.
Yeah,
but
svelte.
He has the size. Also, the Grizzlies beat the Hawks last night. Brandon Clark was healthy, but came off the bench. This was his first preseason game after missing some time with an injury. Grayson Allen ended up getting the start. DeAnthony Melton got the start before that. So I'm not really sure what Taylor Jenkins is going to do here. Maybe he keeps bringing Clark off the bench. Maybe he likes his energy. You'd still think with Jaron Jackson out that, Clark is going to play close to 30 minutes, if not more than 30 minutes. He had 7.6 rebounds in 18 minutes. He's kind of he's just like a spark plug power forward, which there aren't really that many in the NBA.
And Grayson Allen is the exact opposite. He's like a wet towel.
He was good in the bubble, and I think he's always going to have that stigma attached to him because he's Grayson Allen, right? But I think he's going to end up being a pretty good rotation player in the NBA, if I'm being honest.
Okay, a starter?
Borderline, pretty borderline. Maybe a 6-man type, 26 minutes, something like that. Maybe not on a great team.
I was surprised to see Clark come off the bench, but the injury, bringing him gradually back after injury, I guess makes sense. Shannon, what were you going to say?
Grayson Allen's future is a 9th man type, but not a 6-man.
6-man on a bad team.
Let's be real. You and I, the three of us, would love to be a 9th man on even a terrible NBA team. That'd be the dream.
I would love to be a 9th man on a city rec league team. Okay, let's talk about Brandon Clark for a second.
Yeah,
coming off the bench.
Yeah.
How high are you guys on him this year? I don't think you've got Jaron Jackson out for probably the first month of the season, 3-4 weeks. So that should give Clark some opportunity for extra minutes. But overall, for the entirety of the season, let's assume Jackson comes back and is 100%. How high are you on Clark this year?
Well, I'm high on Clark because I don't know if Jackson ever comes back 100%. Does he ever play more than 30 or 40 games in a row? I don't know. I just trust Clark's talent. So, RotoWire projections have him at 58 in 8 category leagues. I like that. I like drafting Clark a lot cheaper than Jackson. And I put that in my one question column. I like Clark's upside too. I think he has only scratched the surface. Again, going into his sophomore season, I think he's only scratched the surface on what he can produce.
Yeah, I think he's going underdrafted. I mean, he ranked per game last season 106th, and his ADP right now is 95 on Yahoo. And I think that's just kind of a product of the casual NBA fan, the casual fantasy player has no idea who Brandon Clark is. They have no idea that he was good last season. And a lot of them probably, I've heard people talk about the Grizzlies like they have no idea Jaron Jackson is going to miss like a month and has a torn meniscus. So I'm pretty high on him. I'll gladly draft him in this, 80 range of his ADP is 95. I'll try to grab him like a round ahead of his ADP for sure.
Well, and if you're Memphis too, don't you also kind of want to load manage Jaron Jackson this year coming off that torn meniscus? Like, I'm not putting him in back-to-backs that first month back. That'd be crazy.
We'll see. He's young. It depends on how he feels. The one interesting part about Clark is he like you mentioned, what was he, like 105, 106 range for overall value last year, Alex? And he played 22 and a half minutes per game. So just give him 28 or 29 minutes and the guy's going to be a beast. I've landed him in quite a few spots. I'm curious to see how they handle it though. He only started 4 games last year, despite the fact that Memphis had numerous opportunities to put him in there for Jackson or other hurt players. They only went with him as starter 4 times. And one of those starts, I think he left in the first quarter with an injury. So we haven't seen him get much run. I mean, the amount of times he eclipsed 30 minutes were maybe not even. I would have to go through the entire game log, but I don't think he played more than 30 minutes more than a handful of times. So I just need to see him get that run before I'm 100% in, but I'm like 90% in right now.
Same. Yeah, he needs to improve his 3-point shot. His form is weird, but he's a good free throw shooter. So that always gives us some hope.
I'll say this though, 35% from 3 as a rookie, not bad. There's room for improvement clearly, but I thought it was a decent start as a rook shooting from 3, Absolutely. Knowing that there's room to grow.
Okay, so we have a message from our friends at BetMGM. Sports bettors know that magic happens when you turn a hunch into action and apply the right amount of expertise. That's why BetMGM has teamed up with RotoWire to offer new BetMGM customers a free 6-month RotoWire subscription when they place their first bet. Register on the BetMGM app or website, and once you make your first sports wager, you'll receive a season's length of RotoWire's unmatched sports insights. Find out why BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks by signing up and placing your first bet today. Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions.
21 years of age or older to wager. Colorado, Indiana, New Jersey, Nevada, Tennessee, and West Virginia only. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado and Nevada and 1-800-GAMBLER in New Jersey and West Virginia. In Tennessee, call or text the Red Line at 800-889-9789. Or if someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. Promotional offer not available in Nevada.
Okay, so today's main topic, underrated players for 2020-21. Last week we did overrated players, so if you missed that podcast, you can go back and check that out. Ken, this is someone that I know that you really like and that you've liked for a long time is Fred VanVleet.
I have etched him in stone for our underrated discussion the last 4 years. I say this every offseason. FVV has improved each of his 4 seasons in the association. He put up 17.6 points, 3.8 boards, 6.6 assists last year. His backcourt mate, Kyle Lowry's 34 years old. Freddie VanVleet is just 26. Toronto's already saying they're going to limit Lowry's minutes. VanVleet has an ADP of the lower 40s. He's a third-round pick to me. Gentlemen, am I wrong?
No. Well, yes, you're wrong in saying that he's underrated because he's finally properly rated. You know,
Well, he's properly paid. He's getting the Benjamins.
Properly paid. He's properly rated in fantasy too. I mean, but he's getting drafted ahead of Kyle Lowry in most drafts, as he should be. He's getting drafted in the same range as guys like D'Angelo Russell and De'Aaron Fox. Like he is finally properly rated. Now, if for whatever reason you can get him at a discount, if you're in a salary cap league, you get him for a lot cheaper than Russell or Fox, or you're able to draft him a round or two after those types of point guards, then kudos to you. You're getting a great value.
He's definitely not underrated on RotoWire. Go ahead, Alex. I think you were going to say that.
Yeah, we have him ranked in the 30s on RotoWire. He was ranked 30th last season per game. The only concern I have about him is he had 1.9 steals per game last season. That's a really high number amongst the league leaders. If that comes down at all, because steals fluctuate a lot, and that can affect your fantasy value. But I mean, he could still up his points, up his assists. Gasol and Ibaka are gone. Maybe he crosses the 4 rebound mark.
You said we've got him at 30, but I think that's 9 category. 8 category without the TOs, he bounces up to 23. RotoWire projections.
Okay.
Seems to be he might even be overrated, Ken. Huh.
Whoa.
All right.
Let's time travel back to the past pod.
He's great. And I mean, his ADP's in the 40 to 50 range on most sites right now. So I think that's about where you want to pick him. But as our rankings also suggest, you could be getting a top 25, top 35 player if you do get him in the 45 to 50 range.
Shannon, let's stay with you and go to Detroit for a big man you believe is underrated.
Miles Plumley is going to be a walking double-double this year.
I'm going to confuse him with.
I'm sorry, Mason. I'm always going to confuse all of them for forever and always.
We really need to put the first and last name in the show notes for the Balls and the Plumleys.
Mason Plumley. You know, everyone ridiculed the signing by the Pistons, and it makes sense giving a 30-year-old big 3 years. I get it. There's plenty to poke fun at. But here's a guy who averaged 10.5, 7.5 with 3.5 assists just a couple years ago while playing 27 minutes per game. He's going to be locked in as a starting center for the Pistons. I don't see how he doesn't play 25, 26, maybe 28, 29 minutes per game. And if he does that, he's going to be 10, 8, and 4 with probably a little bit over 1 block per game. The only downside is, there's 2 things. No threes and bad free throw percentage. But you're talking about a guy who is going undrafted in a lot of standard leagues. Every draft I've been a part of or salary cap, he's vastly underrated.
What did I get him in the 4th round of the reserve draft in our keeper league, the RotoWire keeper league?
I would have picked him in that league. I would have picked him in the 1st round as a reserve pick because I think he's a lock for top 120 value this season.
You know, when I saw Plumley on your list, I thought, and I especially like his value when Blake Griffin gets his inevitable injury. But Griffin doesn't rebound anymore anyway. He's a perimeter guy, right? Like Plumlee's got the rebounds for Plumley should be all over the place. He should get 8 that just drop into his lap by being the only guy inside.
For a center, he's not a great rebounder, but I do think he'll have the opportunity to grab more boards this year because you're right. Blake is more perimeter oriented these days.
Plumley just falls his way into the stat sheet every single game. Like it's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, I'm with you on that, Shannon. He's playing pretty well this preseason, averaging almost a fantasy point per minute per 36. And he's played 3 games, 10 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals. Steals is obviously going to come down, but yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the the spot that you can get him in fantasy drafts, we're talking like the 150s, basically. Everyone's taking them with their last pick. You can take them, with your second to last pick, your third to last pick, and just kind of get ahead of everybody. And I think you're in a good spot.
Yep. Well, on a points league too, where you don't get damage for the free throw percentage. Yeah. Nice move.
Absolutely.
Nice reserve.
All right, you got a pair of teammates, Alex. Let's talk about them.
Terry Rozier and Devontae Graham. I think everyone is so hyped up about Lamelo that they are letting Rozier and Graham slip too far. I mean, I think Rozier is the highest risk of losing kind of his role to some extent, but he's still such a good defender. And I don't think Lamelo is going to play 30 minutes a game right off the bat. And again, this Hornets team is bad. I think they'll go 3-guard lineups. I think there's enough room for all these guys. And it's just kind of relative to their ADPs, right? So Rozier, his ADP right now is 135. He was ranked 67th per game last season. So that gap is far too high. You can kind of split the difference there, pick him around 90, and I think you'll be getting great value on that. Same with Devontae Graham. Last season he was ranked 54th per game. Now his ADP is 92. That's way too far of a drop for a guy who almost led the league in threes last year, who's an extremely talented passer himself. It's the ADPs are way too low on those guys.
Let me say this. If a month or two into the season, if 3-guard lineup isn't their majority setup, I think they're crazy. I don't know why they wouldn't go 3-guard lineup. They lack depth. They should run guys out of the building. There's no bigs that are worth a lot of minutes on this squad. What are you're gonna do ISOs for Cody Zeller inside? Run the damn ball. I don't see with this lineup. Hayward can pass great too. He'd be fantastic setting these guys up when healthy. Run, go with 3 guards.
Yeah, I've watched some Hornets preseason, which is maybe the saddest thing I've ever said. But they're a really fun team. They pass a lot. They're a pump faking
drive
team.
Your mother right now is just shaking her head. What did I do? Well, what did I go wrong? Where my boy's watching Charlotte preseason games.
and James Borrego's already said he likes PJ Washington at the 5. So maybe Cody Zeller plays 20 minutes, then PJ Washington gets the rest. Hayward shifts up to the 4, and here we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you with me on that, Shannon?
I am. Graham especially. He was a top 30 fantasy player for much of the season last year. The assists will probably go down a little bit, but the scoring, the 3-pointers, the assists, it's impossible to pass up at his current price tag. It confuses me. You knew there was going to be some regression baked in. To at least projected regression baked into his stats this year, just because he came out of nowhere last season. Right. And then Melo, we have a new Melo, by the way. We're just going to call him Melo from now on. The new Melo just kind of reinforced that regression that we had all planned for Graham. But I think we went too far.
There should be plenty of shots for Graham. Hayward likes to move the ball. He's not going to hog. He's not going to get too ugly on the shot attempts. He's going to move the ball. Graham's great. He's going to be a great catch and shoot guy.
I've seen in every draft I've done, Graham has gone after Lamelo, which is crazy insane to me.
Do you think some of it is small market team too? Like if Graham was doing this on the Knicks, oh man, he'd be a 3rd-round pick this year.
That happens a lot. I mean, there are boring players and there are boring teams. And we talked about this with like Brandon Clark, right? I don't think people know who he is. And there are other situations.
And Graham's not boring at all, but he plays on a team that you never see, on TNT until it's contractually obligated to do so.
Right. Ken, give us another.
Yeah, Ken, before I actually want to take that, you guys are talking about players who we don't know who they are, and that's why they're undervalued in fantasy. And that's kind of the main point about my next undervalued, underrated players. And it's all rookies from this year. I've actually gone from now this isn't based necessarily on rankings or ADP. It's based on the results I've seen in the dozen or so drafts I've done. And in my opinion, the rookies are actually underrated. And I know the reason why. The reason why is because we didn't have March Madness last year. We don't know who any of these guys are. We weren't able to see Anthony Edwards take his team to the Final Four. So I to me, that's just everyone's just kind of ignoring the rookies. You've got a couple of the big names. I mean, Lamelo is the one that I do feel like most people know for social media and reality TV and other obvious reasons. But these other rookies, even after getting initial hype, maybe for some of them, guy like Killian Hayes, we've talked about a lot. He came out ranked really high on a lot of platforms, and the hype was real. And then he had one preseason game where he had like, I don't know, 25 turnovers, and everyone's like, "Oh, I'm not touching him. I'm not touching him."
Shannon, isn't some of it though that look, there's a few rookies who break out each year.
Yes.
Surprising. But picking which one is just so much harder than someone with a track record.
Yes.
And now you've
absolutely.
got a short preseason, you got no college second half. Like to me, it's just looking past the individual players. It's just, it was always a big swing and a miss on a lot of rookies generally. And now we know even less. I'm just shying away.
I don't fault anyone for shying away. The difference with this year compared to last year is, last year you had to pick RJ Barrett with like, I don't know, top 70 pick or whatever, top 70, top 80 pick. If you were a believer.
Pay out.
No, it didn't. I mean, other than Morant and even I would say Zion didn't pay out based on the games played.
Was ADP.
Oh. No, only Morant was really, and there were a couple other guys. I mean, Clark we mentioned, but you're right.
While we're on this,
there's always
on
flyers.
This chat, while we're on the rookie chat, Anthony Edwards, number 1 pick.
Yes.
Going to a team with D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns. Frankly, a gunner and Malik Beasley ahead of him at shooting guard possibly, and then a bunch of defensive plugins. I mean, how many shots does Edwards even get in Minnesota?
It's tough. I've tried to watch I haven't watched the full Minnesota Timberwolves games, but I've watched like the 10-minute game recaps. The main thing that just sticks out for me is just his athleticism is crazy.
Yep.
And other than that, I haven't seen a ton from him. He's 26 minutes a game in the preseason, 3 preseason games. He's shooting 29% from the field, 25% from 3. More turnovers than assists. It just hasn't been great.
RotoWire projections has him at 9.1 field goal attempts a game. It's really hard to generate big fantasy value off 9.1 shots a game.
I get it. I just wanted to point out the rookies, and I'm going to name some of these rookies so everyone knows who LaMelo Ball is.
Give us the rookies you like.
Based on my experience in drafts, I've seen all of these rookies I think are actually somewhat undervalued. Halliburton, Toppin, Wiseman, LaMelo Ball, Patrick Williams, no one talks about, top 5 pick. He might be starting over Otto Porter Jr. Okoro.
Or the inevitable Markkanen injury.
Yeah. Killian Hayes.
But you can't just say all of them.
No,
pick a few.
Listen, that's 7. And the 8th guy I'm going to mention is Anthony Edwards, who we just talked about. Okay. Those 8 are really the ones that are in consideration for me. So I just want to throw it out there. Some of these guys, Killian Hayes is locked in. He's starting for the Pistons. He's going to have struggles, but he's locked in. He's starting. The Timberwolves are starting Jake Layman right now. Eventually, Anthony Edwards will get minutes and shots, and they didn't pick him number 1 overall, to sit him on the bench. I mean, this guy has the talent to be the number 1 overall pick. I'll take a flyer on him if it's cost me like the 110th pick of the draft.
Yeah,
once you get past the hundreds, you can justify almost any pick.
I think Nick Whalen has a giant Jake Layman poster in his bedroom, right? You're gonna have to throw down over Layman with Whalen, I think, Shannon.
If they start Jake Layman over guys like Culver,
it'd be a development issue. It would seem like a poor development move to give Layman a lot of minutes. I agree 100%.
I won't be able to deal with that.
All right, well, Alex, Shannon just threw a little shade on one of your underrated players. You want to go to Chicago?
Otto Porter. I know Patrick Williams is there. I know Billy Donovan said he might play Thaddeus Young at the 3. That probably should have gotten him fired.
Thaddeus Young, is he 88 or 87 years old? I can't remember. I got to look this up.
Last season, Otto Porter had his season basically destroyed by injuries, right? When he played, he wasn't right. Missed a lot of games. He's playing well in the preseason. 16 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists per 36 minutes. That's 66 minutes total.
He's actually a quality glue guy when all your other positions have gunners. Wendell Carter's not a gunner, but I like Porter as a small forward when you've got Levine and White just shooting the lights out.
Right. I mean, he played on the Wizards with Wall and Beal for all those years, right?
He passed a heck of a lot.
Yeah.
Catch, shoot, and keep passing. He's
been a top 60 player 3 times per game, and I think 2 of those were basically top 40, and his ADP right now is 117.
It's all health. It's all game count with him. But if he plays, I'm with you. He could be great. Nice little steal. Snag him at 105, 110 in your draft.
I love Porter. Yeah, I love Porter this year. I own him. I have as much Porter this year as any other player. He's on over half of my best ball teams. I got him. I just got him in the staff keeper league the other night. So I love Porter. I do worry somewhat about Patrick Williams, and I think some of that is baked into Porter's rankings and ADP this year is the fact that they picked a top 5 guy at his position. But Porter's making like $20 million a year, and he's a good player, like you said.
Before the injuries piled up, he was a great steals, 3, and percentage guy. The steals and percentages are always underrated. Fantasy owners never think enough about those 3 categories. So he was always the crafty, help you in categories that don't get enough attention guy. It's just does he bounce back from these injuries or not?
Yep. And I think also working in his favor is small forward on most platforms I've seen is the shallowest position in fantasy.
Yeah, for those specific positional leagues.
Yes.
Your ESPNs, if you will.
Ken, give us another underrated player of yours?
I got 4 here. I'm going to stick to big names. I think Jimmy Butler is a little underrated. I mean, CBS has him projected at 32, which just offends me. This is his team. We're talking 2.4 stocks a game, percentage upside. Why would he take a step back after those NBA finals? Everywhere else his ADP's at 18. I give him a little nudge over Westbrook and Kawhi. I'm worried about load management still with Kawhi. Worried about shot percentage with Westbrook. I mean, we're only talking in normal places. We're only talking a spot or 2 higher for Butler, but that CBS ranking just made me angry.
I think, I don't think he's getting any better, right, at 31 years old. And injuries, at least for me, I'm still worried about his injuries, right? He's only played more than 70 games twice in his career, and he missed almost 20 games last season still in the regular season. So I can understand having him ranked 32 if you're factoring in slight regression, just a decent amount of missed games, like 15 missed games.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I don't care what his ranking is on CBS. We've already discussed CBS rankings. I'm more looking at his ADP and the fact that he's basically locked in as a top 20, top 25 pick is actually quite alarming for me. I don't know if he's ever been a top 20 player over the course of a season for fantasy. Once. So yeah, please investigate as I go on, Alex. I would be surprised if he has many, more than like one season in total value. Per game value, sure. But I am not picking. There's no way I'm picking Jimmy Butler with the top 20 pick. I can't do it. Okay. If he drops, I know you got a good value, or he can be had at a good value. I think and both the leagues I did in the stake league that we did on Wednesday, I think he was a pretty good value. I can't justify top 20. Yeah. But if he goes at a discount,
I did get him a good value in our keeper league. I think I got him a good value in stake league. But I mostly just brought that up because of the CBS thing. Sorry. Totally. Let me give out an actual sleeper. that I think is all based on paying too much attention to the playoffs.
Okay.
Eric Bledsoe. Yeah, he had a terrible playoff, which affected no one in fantasy leagues because the playoffs don't count. He's great during the regular season. He's got a pass-first backcourt mate in Lonzo Ball. He's going to move to point guard when they bring in J.J. Redick. Kyra Lewis is 19 years old and not a threat yet to playing time this year. We're talking 1.2 three-pointers a game from 40% shooting in the regular season. I'll take that. I don't have to win playoff games with him. And his defense is really solid. They need his defense on the court. I get everyone dumping on him for the playoffs. I think it was a good move for the Bucks to trade up for Drew Holiday. But Bledsoe's just so cheap that I don't know. I think he's underrated.
What do you think, Shannon?
I honestly am not just paid to take the opposite stance of Ken.
You enjoy it.
I'm not picking Bledsoe. I mean, he's going in the same range as guys like Devontae Graham. Bledsoe, one of Bledsoe's biggest contributions as a player on your fantasy team has always been steals. He averaged under 1 steal per game last year. Under 1 steal per game. I think he takes a step back, honestly. I think we're going to see, the lowest scoring total since he played for the Clippers. I just don't see it anymore with him. If I'm picking him, if he falls and I get him in the 90 to 100 range, fantastic. But I'm not picking him where he's currently being selected.
I gotta say, I lean a little more with Ken here on this one. I think the Pelicans think they're good, and so I think Stan Van Gundy's going to play Bledsoe. The steals thing, it's a little tough. I've heard some people say that it's the system that Milwaukee plays. Maybe, because every year other than that, obviously he was a steals beast his whole career. I feel like there's a better chance this year was just a anomaly compared to his other years.
Okay.
He was
okay.
Go ahead.
I'll say
let's do this. Quick fire. Yes or no? Would you take Bledsoe over these guys? Colin Sexton.
Maybe.
Ken, you too.
Yes.
Okay, you guys both failed already. I don't even need to do anything else. Devontae Graham.
I would not take Bledsoe over Devontae Graham.
Kobe White.
No.
Upside roof on Kobe.
Mike Conley.
Yes.
Okay. So Mike Conley. That's fine. Mike Conley's ADP is like 90. And he's going well below Bledsoe right now. So same for Kobe White. Same for Ricky Rubio. Same for Colin Sexton. All these players are better. Bledsoe. All of these players are better than Bledsoe. You guys are crazy.
Mike Conley. You'd rather have Mike Conley than Bledsoe.
At 90 as opposed to 75 for Bledsoe? Yes, they're basically going to do the exact same thing this year. Go look at the projections. We might have Conley projected.
Wager. Conley or Bledsoe. Alex will be the judge.
That's fine.
Who has the better season?
We get per game value though.
Per game value.
Bledsoe.
All right, per game value. No. You got to judge at the end of the year, Alex.
I'm judging at the end. How am I judging who had better per game value? That's
nothing.
The season ends.
It's called math. We got this. We'll do it.
That's true. Wait, so you're only going per game? That's fine. I'll go per game. Conley or Bledsoe, per game value, high-end cocktail.
Okay.
Done.
All right, Shannon, give us. You got at least one more, if not two more underrated guys, right?
I don't have to go in depth about any of these guys, but when you mentioned Porter, I should have said everyone on the Bulls is undervalued except for LaVine. Whether it's Kobe White, whether it's Porter, Wendell Carter, Markkanen, all of those guys. Maybe even Patrick Williams. They're all undervalued. I love targeting the Bulls in drafts this year, and then a lot of older guys. Kind of like the Conleys and Bledsoes of the world. Even bigs. The older bigs are also highly or extremely undervalued this year. Blake Griffin, Kevin Love, those are two of them. I actually like Blake Griffin more than Love this year. I think he's safer. Blake looks healthier than he has in a while. He's lost some weight, and I believe people forget how good he was that first full season with the Pistons. They just look at last year where he really
isn't the ideal dream you draft him cheap, he has a great January, and you deal him before his knee blows up.
Sure,
right?
Sure, that's fine. But I just want to throw this out there. Yes, he played 18 games last year, dealt with injuries the whole time. Even when he played, he really wasn't healthy. Year before that, 75 games, he averaged 24.5, 7.5, 5.5, with 2.5 3-pointers per game. Nothing on defense, but he was just like a top total offensive contributions that season. He was like a top 7 player. Like, it was insane how good he was that season.
Do you think their letting Wood walk was a hopeful nod that they thought Griffin could be healthy again?
No, it has nothing to do with Griffin. Wood, it has nothing to do with Griffin.
Okay. Just throwing it out there. All right. And Killian Hayes. You still love Killian Hayes for fantasy this season?
No, I mean, he's going to have his struggles. I'm all over him in dynasty leagues. And
points leagues.
I'm okay picking him for this season as well. But it is, if we're talking about just this season, I'd rather have Mike Conley. I'd rather have Fultz. There are numerous guys I'd rather have than Hayes for this season.
Fultz could maybe belong on this list. Just there's just so much Markelle Fultz hate, just the sheer hate. Get him cheap. Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Well, should we talk about our friends at Owner's Box, or are there any more underrated names you want to throw out there?
I just got one. I'll do it quick. OG Anunoby. ADP's 84 right now. He ranked 88th per game last season.
Qualifies at center on CBS. Throw that.
That's fun.
That's
his preseason numbers have been okay. Obviously, he's in a great position to improve. Just the fact that you're getting him at the exact same spot that he finished last year, that's going to happen. So that's a good spot for him. Do you have one more quick one, Ken?
I'm going to say, you know what? Everyone wants to go high upside at the end to an exaggerated degree. Evan Fournier is painfully boring, but that team didn't change at all. They desperately need his scoring. He gets you 2.7 threes a game with 46% shooting from the field. When you get a lot of threes and yet a decent field goal percentage, take it. Plus 1.1 steals per game. I mean, he's at 110 ADP. Give me this. I'll take all that safe production while people are gambling on upside guys. I mean, that's kind of his stats are sort of money in the bank.
I feel kind of the same way about Terrence Ross.
Yeah.
I draft him every year.
Norman Powell.
Exactly. Ken, why don't you tell us about our friends at Owner's Box?
Hey, NBA fans. Owner's Box is here to reinvent the way you play fantasy sports this season. Owner's Box is not DFS. They are the first ever weekly fantasy sports platform to combine the best elements of daily and season-long fantasy. Owner's Box is a head-to-head elimination style format that keeps players engaged through live snake drafts and a new layer of strategy that allows you to become the ultimate fantasy GM. Compete with your opponent over 7 days of fierce competition and get paid out weekly. On Owner's Box, users can brand themselves and engage socially on a platform in multiple different ways. Add friends, create custom leagues, and rank up to elevate the trash talk and competition to the next level. Users are able to draft a new team every single day and participate in different types of contests to keep the fantasy experience fresh and fun so you're never out of the game. To tip off the NBA season, if you sign up free now, Owner's Box will match your first deposit up to $500. That's a big match. Think you got what it takes to be a weekly fantasy GM? Visit ownersbox.com/rotowire. That's ownersbox.com/rotowire to claim your bonus and make a name for yourself today.
Cool. So before we get into Ken's old man rant and all that good stuff, let's talk a little bit NFBKC. Alex, we both have drafts coming up there. for the RotoWire Online Championship. My draft
but Vermont will not allow me to participate.
That's okay. Sorry. You're like our cheerleader, Ken.
Yeah, you can write a strongly worded letter to the government.
In maple syrup.
Yes. My draft is Sunday, the 20th of December at 10 p.m. Eastern. There are still some spots available if you want to play. It's the RotoWire Online Championship, 10K total prize. If you take it down, you'll be competing probably for between about 250 teams to earn that 10K. When's your draft, Alex?
Monday, the 21st at 8 p.m. Eastern is my draft.
Nice. So both those drafts are in the lobby. Now, I've got the NFBKC's ADP pulled up.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do this. I'm gonna quiz you guys, see where you would go. Okay. Curry and Trae Young, ADP 8 and 9. Which one are you taking at 8? Curry or Trae Young?
Young.
Curry.
Games played. Young.
I'm going Young too. All right. I think that's the range I'm going to target for my Kentucky draft preference. I think I'm probably going to do like the 9-10 range. Still to be determined, but
wait, what makes this a Kentucky draft? What's a Kentucky draft?
We'll talk about it more next week, Ken.
Okay.
But it's essentially you get to the third round reversal, and you get to pick. For NFC, you get to pick what's your preference for draft spot is. I think I prefer to be in that 8 to 10.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Oh yeah. That's right. Oh yeah. I know that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just based on the player pool. Alex, do you have a preference? Have you looked into it that much, or?
I thought I said it, but it's apparently not set. I think I was aiming for that 4 or 5 range. Trying to steal Harden maybe at pick 4.
Okay.
And just
I like that. Crafty.
I usually just opt for if there's a consensus top whatever. So if there's a consensus top 4, I usually just go with 4. If there's a consensus top 6, I'll go with 6 just to get whoever's left over, and I have to think about it.
And it's reverse snake too. It's reverse snake in the third. So
yeah. That makes sense. I agree. I guess I do think there's probably a consensus top 5 this year, with Harden, Doncic, Anthony Davis, Karl Towns, and Giannis.
Right.
I might reevaluate this as well. I'm somewhat skeptical because I think if I got the number 1 pick, I think I would pick Luka. And same time you've got guys like Giannis who was pretty much the number 1 pick last year, and where did he finish? Like 12, 13 in total value overall. I don't know. I've liked the top 10 or 11 guys in drafts this year, so I almost feel like I'm just fine with whichever one drops there.
In Roto, it's a Roto league, and with Roto values, I think Jokic and Lillard and their high game counts a little underrated here. I think I'd go for 6-7 and hope to get one of those 2 guys at the 6-7 pick, and then feel good about the snake on round 2 and 3 coming back to me.
Yeah, I love Lillard this year. I'm with you.
Yep. All right, here's another question for you guys. Drew Holiday, Van Fleet, 40 and 41 ADP. Which one are you picking?
Oh, I think you know which one I'm picking. My man, Freddie.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on Fred Van Vliet. I think Drew Holiday, we know Budenholzer limits minutes, and this is the best team he's ever been on in his career. He's going to be the 3rd option some nights. That might be a little exaggerated because he's going to handle the ball a lot. But Van Vliet's in a better position than he was last year, if not identical. Holiday's in a worse spot for fantasy.
You also don't want to piss off your new teammates by gunning early on. I could see him deferring to Middleton.
Yeah. Now, looking at these ADPs, I will also say it's pretty clear that blocks are a premium on NFBKC this year because you've got Miles Turner, ADP.
Is it blocks or is it centers more premium?
I believe it's a little bit of both, but mostly blocks. Miles Turner, ADP of 52, Clint Capella, ADP of 54, and Mitchell Robinson, ADP of 60. That's probably the highest I've seen all three of those guys.
I feel like you have to decide. So, I have done NFBKC drafts in the past when Vermont wasn't as big an issue. And I feel like everyone reaches for centers, and you've got to decide going in who's the one center I'm willing to reach on, or you're going to wind up empty-handed.
Yeah, I remember last year or the year before, I can't quite remember. I just punted center and streamed it every single week with guys who had the most games.
And you still owe us a free lunch, I believe, from last year.
I think so. You can blame John Collins for that, or I can blame John Collins for that.
We'll get that sorted. Yeah, Ken.
And JaVale McGee, I think, right?
Yeah, that too.
It's definitely a premium on both centers and blocks. Like both of those things come into play.
It's a 2-center league. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I'm going to invest in centers rather early and just go ahead and scoop up, like Cat and one of those other beasts like Bam with my first 2 picks. There we go. Cat and Bam. That's what I want to do. Okay.
You're going to have to go 3-4 for Cat, don't you think?
Yes, most likely.
Kentucky. Yeah.
Most likely. There's an argument for him number 1 in this format, actually.
I just want to say quick, the nice thing about NFBKC, when you're looking at ADPs, there's a min versus a max.
Yes.
Not ADP, but, well, I guess just general draft position. So you can see the latest guys go and the earliest guys go. So, like, for example, Tyler Hero's gone 67th. He's also gone 106th. And for me, a lot of times what I do is I basically make a spreadsheet of these guys and sort them by the latest they've gone, just to try to get as much value as possible. But it's a great feature on NFBKC.
Yeah, DeMarcus Cousins. The latest he's gone was 150, which would have been before the preseason started. And then after one preseason game, he goes 70. There you go. Okay. Well, there are drafts Sunday and Monday night. If you guys want to join, we have drafts running on NFBKC every night. And every day during the weekend, there are some draft times during the day between now and the opening night of the NBA season. So get in there.
I think their URL has changed, so I would want to recommend to folks Google the acronym NFBKC. That's the easiest way to find where to go.
Yeah, if you go to
NFBKC.
If you go to rotowire.com on our homepage, there's a 10K RotoWire Championship link on there, so you can find it. Or Google. Either one of those options will work. All right, Ken. Let's talk about what's grinding your gears this week.
You know what stokes my coal? Bad draft night behavior. 3 things really bug me. Issue 1, be on time. We schedule these drafts or auction nights like 2 weeks in advance because it's impossible to find a night that works for everyone. Be on time. In fact, you really should show up 15 minutes early to make sure your crappy technology works properly, because no one wants to hear you whine about your Atari 500 not working 30 seconds before the draft starts. All right, number 2, pause for beer. This is supposed to be fun. I hate it when guys are like, can we hurry this up? I have to get back and help my wife with the chores, or the kids really want to see me. That's what the rest of the day is for, the rest of the week. The draft is the time for you. It's the one time you can have fun with your buddies, and you should be drinking beer. All right, issue 3, same theme really, trash talk. For some of your friends, this night's the only time you're actually going to talk to them. Use the chat box. Have a conference call. Have a group Zoom. This is supposed to be fun. Have fun, damn it.
Are there not enough beer during either of the?
God! It's like you have to pass something through the Supreme Court to get a pause in our drafts.
Ken and I did.
Hurry this up! I have to get back and groom my cat. Let's go.
Yeah, Ken and I had 2 drafts together on Wednesday, and I can confirm that every single one of these issues is something he experienced on Wednesday.
Back-to-back drafts made it even worse. People are like, oh, I need to get back and clean the gutters. Oh. Don't be in the league if you don't want to enjoy draft night. Go watch the Hallmark Channel.
There's some great movies on there. Okay, Ken, mispronounce names.
I thought I said Fournier. Did I not say Fournier? Is Fournier wrong?
No, I thought you said Fournier.
Well, that would be wrong. I don't remember.
You may have just slipped up there, but I don't know.
There's all over my laptop, so I've been apparently just messing things up left and right.
I was pretty sure you knew it was Fournier, which is why I was confused.
French gunner. The French. What's his French nickname? The French something or other. It's French, you know.
I can't remember. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. It's presented by Owner's Box and BetMGM. Ken, take us out of here.
Let's go to Utah for our out quote. Jordan Clarkson, who just signed a 4-year, $52 million extension with the Jazz, once said, "Y'all know how we have dogs and stuff, right? So I think it was bigger people in the world before us, and the dinosaurs was they pets." Jordan Clarkson. Attention passengers, this 3-car fantasy train wreck has hit the end of the line.